Welcome to Off-Duty Engineer. I am Alan. This channel is for some of my scale modeling projects, plastic aircraft, wooden ships, and dioramas to display them. This is a summary of the scale model build of the Hercules C130 aircraft, Italeri models in 1/48 scale. It is an out-of-the-box build. This is part 1 of 3 parts. This covers the intro and the summary and the first part of the build. First, the photos of the final result. This Hercules C130 model build was based on the Italeri 1/48 scale kit. This is the kit of the later J version and the C5 option. I wanted to show the C130 in the South African Air Force colours, specifically the early SAAF insignia of the 70s when I served in the SAAF. So this is technically a later 130J with a 6-bladed prop, but with the earlier dated insignia that was on the H and the 4-bladed prop version. I was fine with this, and the result was a good build that brought back memories. Here are some interesting history notes of the C130 Hercules. Lockheed, now Lockheed Martin, of the USA designed the C130 against a general operational requirement issued by the USAF in 1951. The brief was a tactical airlifter to have cargo compartment approximately 41 foot, 12 meters long, 9 foot, 2.7 meters high, and 10 foot, 3 meters wide, with a rear ramp loading entrance. Short takeoff and landing, and able to be used in unprepared runways. This was achieved by those huge tires that you see. The GAR was issued to 9 companies, of which 5 tendered designs. These were Boeing, Douglas, Lockheed, Chase Aircraft, and Airlifts Inc. Lockheed won the GAR, and the first flight was in 1954. This was 70 years ago, and the C130 is still in service with comprehensive updates along the way, and still instantly recognizable. The initial C130A was powered with an Allison T56A turboprops and 3-bladed propellers. The B up until the J had uprated engines with the familiar 4-bladed propellers. The J of 1992 saw the introduction of the glass cockpit. In 1964, the C130H model was an updated Allison T56A15 turboprops with 6-bladed propellers. It also introduced redesigned wings and updated avionics. About 1996, the K was a stretched version of the original Hercules, achieved by inserting 100 inches, 2.5 meters, aft of the cockpit and 80 inches, 2 meters, at the rear of the fuselage. In the 2000s, USAF began retrofitting the 130H with the 8-bladed NP2000 propellers to the upgraded T56 turboprops for greater efficiency and lower fuel consumption. In 1963, Hercules achieved and still holds the record for the largest and heaviest aircraft to land on an aircraft carrier. A C130F made 29 touch-and-go landings, 21 unarrested full-stop landings, and 21 unassisted takeoffs at a number of different weights on Forrestal aircraft carrier. The pilot, Lieutenant later Rear Admiral James Flatley, was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for his role in this test series. Since 1992, 2 successive C-130 aircraft named Fat Albert have served in the support aircraft for the US Navy. At some air shows, Fat Albert takes part and demonstrated its rocket-assisted takeoff RATO capabilities. This photo is of Fat Albert 2, circa 2009. Approximately 2,500 or more C130s were built for service. The C130 is still in production after 70 years. Used by many countries, 65 countries plus, in multiple roles in defense and civil deployments. The South African Air Force had 12 C130s in service over the years of 1963 to present. 9 were the B and BZ versions, 3 were the F versions. In 1996 to 2009, 9 were major upgraded to the H version. airframe and wing updates and avionics. I was in the SAAF in the 70s and saw these deployed for many tasks. I flew in one as well. I was looking forward to building this model kit. Next is the details of the Italeri kit. The kit details are C130J C5 Hercules 148 scale from Italeri. This is kit number 2746. The box is quite large, an indication of the size of this 1:48 scale model. The completed model dimensions are about 840mm wide wingspan, 620mm long fuselage, and 240mm height from runway to top of tail fin. There are 4 color schemes shown. I did not follow any of these. I used the light grey bottom, dark grey top, and SAAF decals that I had made. Scalemates indicated new tooling in 2014 for this kit, number 2746. The first kit was issued in 1984, with 7 updates till the present 2014 kit. These updates roughly followed the development path of the C130 over time. I downloaded the instruction book and an image of the decal sheet from Scalemates. Scalemates is a valuable resource. It sometimes shows third-party vendors like 3D printed parts. If you join and log in, you can save your stash and completed models with your own photos. Very useful. The instruction book is only 12 pages, in black and white, except for a few pages with the color schemes. The instructions is not well detailed, so you have to assess what is the best sequence for fixing parts, painting, etc. There are 6 huge sprues, and 1 smaller sprue and 1 for clear parts. The plastic sprues are grey. Note the instructions for an 80 gram nose weight to be added, not included. The decal sheet is large. There is a comment section, then areas marked off for the different options. The decals are not of the best quality, and many passes of microsol was used and still not avoided some silvering. For my South African Air Force insignia, I found or created SAAF artwork in vector format and then had a local company print decal sheets. This was Decal Specialists in Thomastown in Melbourne. These decals worked very well. The parts are huge. The fuselage length is in 2 sections on each side. The wings have top and bottom sections. The tail has 2 halves. The quality of the plastic is good, nice and soft, very little flash. The fit of the parts was very good. Next is the building of the C130 kit. Good morning. Alan here, Off-Duty Engineer. Welcome to my channel. Well, another day, another model. I recently completed my previous diorama of a Mirage 3C and a Cheetah D, both South African Air Force insignia, landing next to each other with the drag chutes open. Very satisfying. Good model. You can see the videos on my YouTube channel. Today we start new. New workspace. I've taken out my stash, the C130J Hercules, and we'll be building that. This kit is Italeri number 2746 in 148 scale. 148 scale, this Hercules is going to be big. Length somewhere 600 millimeters or so. Width about 800 or 900 millimeters on the wingspan. So it's going to look impressive. This is the kit that it comes, the box. Just briefly show you the sides. There is the decal sheet. I'll show you that in more detail in a moment. And flip it over. This one comes in 4 color schemes. I'll discuss that in a moment. I won't be using any of those. So, nice model, big box, quite a few sprues, but not many, with large parts on them. The instruction sheet in black and white, except for the last pages that are in color. Here you can see the sprues, large sprues, but not a lot of parts on them for the whole kit. Cockpit and front landing gear, loading bay area, loading bay. That's in fair detail, not enough, but good detail. The landing gear on the sides, huge wheels on it, you'll see. Yeah, and then just put the rest together. The motors, as you can see, very few parts, very simple. These are the 4 options they give you for decals and paint options. I won't be using any of these. This is probably the closest in terms of coloring, but the colors are wrong, so I won't be using this either. So, the decal sheet, I'll show you that. This is the decal sheet that it comes with. Lots of lines for above the wing. I'll be going with the grey. These are the prop tips. 2 colors. Probably go with that one. There's maybe this one. This is the American side. RAF. Okay, so for my decals, I actually have pre-printed through a decal printing service some South African flag tail decals and the older insignia, which is the South African Air Force logos, insignias. To clear that up, I'll show you, this is the South African Air Force Hercules, as I know it, flown in it a few times, in silver. This is before any defense applications, so this is the really early ones. This is the slightly later version in a grey. As you can see, South African Air Force. It's the latest South African Air Force in grey, same color grey, different lighting. And for comparison, this is the Australian Air Force version of it with a light blue at the bottom and a darker grey at the top. So I will be using this color scheme, darker grey, light at the bottom, not with a wavy line, but straight line at the bottom, and the South African Air Force, older South African Air Force decals and insignia on it. For the paint, this is the paint kit that I have. This is from SMS. It's got the RAAF dark grey, the blue, and the camo black, which is used under the wings and a few other places. It is. So I've just got to get SMS primer and a few other things, and this will be an SMS paint kit. I'm going to use Vallejo, but this time I've decided to go with SMS. So, completing out, how do I present this? Well, there's 2 options. Either I close it all up and leave it flying. Then I will put 2 figures in the cockpit, 2 or 3 figures in the cockpit. Give it some life, some realism. Because you can't fly without pilots. So this is an option, but it does give you detail of the cockpit. And you won't see much looking through there into the cockpit anyway. So I don't have to go into excruciating detail here. If it is flying, that's it. Otherwise, I'll leave it on the ground, park it on the ground, and I'll leave the bays open, all the doors open. And I don't need pilots in there. And then I need more detail in the cargo bay. And for this, I have a few photos taken from the interweb. Remember the seats when I flew, they were green, not orange. But that was in the 70s. If it's on the ground, I might put some figures, a support there, 1/48 scale, and maybe loading something in. So I have to decide that option. This gives you an idea. It first flew in 1954. So the Hercules has been around since then, still flying today in many upgrades and redesigns along the way. But still, the old faithful is still in service. Okay, next I'll unbox and look at the sprues and work from there forward. Thank you. Releasing the first of the parts. Here is the body. Half. And the front. So this gives you some idea of the size of this. Here is a 1 foot or 300 millimeter ruler. And this gives you some idea. It's 300 millimeters plus the rest. Moving on. There's a bit of flash. It can be seen along these edges. It's fantastic. Given the scale of the aircraft, it's not going to be needed to be going into too much detail for full. Full will spoil it rather than fix it. I saw in the instructions this part of the tail gets removed and then another piece gets fitted. And you can see it's very clearly marked as to where the cut is. Thank goodness for that. As a first pass, I took the two body parts, the two nose parts. I've just taped them together, cleaned them up a little bit to see what we got. This is clamped carefully. Later, you can get rid of this seam there. No fill required. That piece is coming off, but the back looks okay. On the top, another one there, but I think with some proper clamping, we may get rid of most of that. There, hard clamping, might be able to get rid of that. Joiner from the front to the back looks reasonable. And with some clamping, this will appear here too. So yeah, quite pleased with that. Even the nose. A little bit of flash to sort out. A little bit of flash here to sort out as well, where the tail comes in. Yeah, I think that is good. Starting on step 1 in the instruction book, which is the start of the cockpit. And the underneath landing gear, I've taken the liberty to mark out all the sprues with their numbers, that they're easily findable, and taken all the components off, the parts needed for these 3 steps of step 1. So I'll put that together, maybe give it a paint, put some detail, stick the internal decals on, and have a look further. Next is step 2, so that is the loading bay area inside the aeroplane. So I'm going to cut out all these components out of these parts over here and assemble them on the workspace. I'll be doing that in fast motion. Okay, so the next step, for step 2, after I've assembled all these components together, is to glue them all together following the plan. I'll do that in fast mode as well. Well, there's the cockpit complete, the loading bay complete. They fit together like such. According to step 2 over there. Now the next step will be to take our airplane apart and to see how that fits inside. Dry fit see that these dimensions are correct and any alterations that might be required. Right, the dry fit done, the loading bay and the cockpit to the fuselage, they're done and tested, all good. Just take this little piece off over there, that's a bit in the way, this little piece over there, it's in the way a bit, but not much. The next step would be to start gluing these pieces together, two fuselage front and rear sections together, do the wing top and bottom together, the tail pieces, and get all that set and done. After that, we can get onto the spray of the cockpit and the inside to finish that off before we move on. Okay, so we've basically glued the parts together, wing top and bottom, ailerons, the tail fin, the body parts, and now I've glued that. The next step would be to take all the clamps off and to clean up all the edges, all of them, and after that we can start with the final fit of the inside of the fuselage, painting as we go along. Okay, so we've gotten now to having completed all the main components, including sanding all the edges. I did do a little bit of fill with the Surfacer 500 on various really small areas like this. The basic items that I used to fix it up was the AK sticks, medium first, then the fine, and then the extra fine. The extra fine brings that right down to basically shiny plastic again. The odd fingerprint that there was, just use the fine and the extra fine and it takes it out. And it ends up glossy again, you cannot even see it. So, two wings are done. Tail plane, I had a bit of fix up to do along here, leading edge. I did use Surfacer all the way down here, and then redid it with the sticks again to get that nice. The tail part needed nothing done, they were fine as they were, just with a basic cleanup, no further cleanup. The body parts where the front and the back were put together, I did run surfacer along that edge, and I did clean that up. Took a bit of time with the little bit of medium stick, a lot of the fine, and even more of the extra fine. You can see the stick starting to look a bit sad, but I did clean it up quite nicely. This is when I get down to subatomic, I think it's okay. My definition of subatomic means the primer will cover up the rest. So at this point, we are ready to put the wings away, put the tail pieces away, and to go back to the insides of putting in the loading bay, the cockpit, retesting them, putting the last few components in that are required over here, this step 3, and then painting all the inside. After that, we paint all the inside and get that prepped up before we are ready to put the body left and right halves together. It'll include all the windows done, the canopy glass done, and yeah, ready to put it together. That'll be a few steps from now. Mustn't forget to put the 80 gram weight in the front, because once it's glued together you won't be able to get in there to do it. Been caught with that before. 80 gram weight will have to be put in at the front over here. We'll don't know what it'll look like. Bit of lead weight, and I'll probably fix it with some wax or something like that, molten wax, to get it to stay in one place. We'll get there, not today. So I'm ready to take on the next step, getting good. Looking forward to the painting. So I jumped ahead a little bit. I combined step 3, step 4, and step 5, bouncing between them to complete them all. That included the top of the cockpit controls, all the windows. I put all the windows in, some other bits and pieces. I decided to put all the windows in, not block out some of them as per the instruction plan. I think it looks better with more windows in, especially such a big aircraft. And the wheel arch, I strengthened it a little bit over there. The other body panel, same. Strengthened the wheel arch a bit. Put all the windows in. And in the cockpit, I added in the navigator seat. It was omitted. I decided to add it in there. Pilot, co-pilot, and navigator. I completed the loading bay, a few more parts on it. And the last bit of the loading bay, which I will not put in at the moment, because I need to get in there to spray it, and if this is there, it's just going to make life a little difficult. I've got the doors prepared with the windows in. I did not put the square window in because that's quite complex to cut open. I didn't think necessary. And the framework towards the back, I did not put it in yet. I will put it in later when I have the two halves together. I have checked, you can get them in. Okay, so that's step 3, 4, and 5 fundamentally completed. I'm going to prepare step 6, which is the loading bay doors, and the landing gear on step 7. And then I will spray all the inside of the whole airplane first, and then glue the two halves together. So this is a dry fit of the various components inside the fuselage. I have the cockpit section there and the two sections of the loading bay. Got them in. Everything seems good. It lines up well into the one side. I'm then going to put the other side on and have another look. As part of the dry fit, I now have the two halves of the fuselage together with all the insides in. If I clamp it hard over there and hard over there, the seams mostly disappear. I think with careful clamping later, I can make them disappear completely. There's an issue that needs to be sorted out. Ah, there it is. Sorting itself out anyway. That wheel works. And there you can see the cockpit detail. Heck, you see more than what I thought. That's good. And this will close up. This will close up. Clamping. Yeah. I think while I've got it like this, I'm going to experiment with these cargo bays and the fit of these units in there. These braces. They should all fit well. Yeah, and then I'll take it apart for the painting. Hi there. So now I've basically had the cockpit, the whole fuselage together with all the insides in and clamped to check the fit. It seemed to be okay. It'll be a bit tricky later to get that done accurately. So now I've split it open. The insides I've got is the cockpit, loading bay, rear of the loading bay, two loading bay doors. One goes up, one goes down. There's the internal framing. There's the ladder for the front cockpit. There's the door to the front cockpit over there. There's the two rear small cargo doors there. So that's all split open. That's basically completed up to step 6 in the book. Okay. So the next would be to paint the insides completely and then reassemble and glue the fuselage together. So what I intend to do there is the whole loading bay from there to the back will be in silver with hand painted details. Chosen silver for this picture here. It's mostly in silver or aluminium to be exact. So I'm going to use the aluminium paint. So everything from this point backwards will be in silver on the fuselages and all of this on the inside, including the inside of the bay doors, inside of all these doors. I don't need to mask these lights, the windows very carefully, but I do need to mask the back too carefully because you can see that from the inside, from the outside through the loading bay. So the front I'm going to do in light grey, including the cockpit, that in light grey, and then hand paint all the details in dark grey, including the seats and the colors they needed. The flight panel, the dashboard there is the new glass cockpit. So those green screens will be in clear green with all the highlighting around them. Joysticks in black and so forth. So that will be in light grey as a base and then the details painted. Then I can put it all together again and carefully glue the two fuselage halves together. That'll be a big step. At that point, I can move on to the step 7, which is the undercarriage. These undercarriage bays will be white, including the one in the front, and start finishing off the rest. Then when I've got that all glued, I can then prime and paint the outside. Okay, let's go. I hope that you enjoyed this. Please follow on the next part of this build. Also, please follow, like, subscribe, etc. Thank you.